Let's get started.
Let's do it.
So it's 8 minutes after 9. There's going to be more people trickling in here. We had, like I said, probably around 60-ish, 55 or so RSVPs are accepted on the calendar, which is great. I want to thank, first and foremost, Sophia for introducing us to Eric, the tallest man in real estate, to talk about AI and how he uses it in the industry, how it's helped him, how it's changing. We did a meeting, our buy sell meeting, Southern Marin buy sell meeting last week or the week before, and Eric touched on a few of the key points for 15, 20 minutes. And honestly, from there we had so many questions and so much input. It was great. So luckily we had him scheduled for our monthly Realtor Success Series that we haven't had this series since I think we skipped October for whatever reason. I can't remember, but our last one was September. So if you haven't been on these meetings, this is our Realtor Success Series. We try to do this once a month where we'll have different folks come on and talk about anything from their real estate careers to AI to appraisals. We've had different folks on here talk about different things. One thing that I'm going to do, you guys, is in the next few months, and I've already talked to him, and this is kind of an interesting one. So if you don't know, I coach high school football or help coach high school football at Marin Catholic. And Marin Catholic's head coach, his name's Mazi Moyed, who's been coaching there 14, 15 years. He's put a ton of different athletes into not only Division One football, but he's put quite a few into the NFL as well, one of them being Jared Goff. Um,
Go
and
Bears.
I've known Mazi a long time, and he's one of the most unique coaches that I've ever met. He's super funny, first of all, but he's a guy that he'll yell at you, but he'll never cuss. He never uses a cuss word. And he has kids that are just 20 years later, 15 years, whatever, how long it's been since they've been to Mozzie, they're always they stay with him. They email him, they text him. For example, like with Jared, um, Mozzie went to Jared's NFL draft. He went to the All-Star game, he went to the Super Bowl, and he went to his wedding. None of his other coaches were there. So this is kind of the how he works with his kids. Regardless, anyway, I'm going to try to get him on. He will get on because the season's over. And I want him to get on and just talk about stuff because he's very great. He's a unique guy, and I think it would be very helpful for everyone just to listen to him. So, but anyway, that's coming up. I also want to, before we get started, and then I'm going to hand it off to Eric, I want to make sure that you guys know our next, make sure this works. Hopefully this works.
Our next two meetings, right?
Yeah, I put the next one on here for now. Can you guys see that?
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's better. There you go.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. So our next, as you guys know, we do the Bay Area buy sell meetings. We have the North Bay one, we have the Southern Marin. Our next for the North Bay is a week from this coming Tuesday. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, a week from today. So if you can, there's the scan. You guys can RSVP now. We already have, I don't know, quite a few already RSVP'd. Just a quick heads up for this meeting. If you haven't been, obviously we talk about off-market listings, coming soons, price adjustments. Every meeting, there's a deal made in the room, but that wouldn't have been made unless you're in this room, whether it's the North Bay or the Southern Marin. And I've been doing these meetings for 8 years, 9 years. Sophia and I partnered up in the last few months and we kicked off the Southern Marin and now we're both doing these. So they're great meetings, you guys. So if you haven't been, you got to get in the room. You got to check this out. It's a lot of fun. The one for Marin this month or this next week for Marin Country Club, they're actually, so December is our meeting. January, February, March, they're remodeling. So I'll get with you, Sophia, on this. We'll have to figure out if we want to do combined meetings or if we want to find a new venue for the first quarter of 2026. But this will be our last one for Marin Country Club for a few months. If you guys, again, if you haven't been, you got to go. the eggs, the breakfast. It's delicious. You get a full breakfast, bacon, eggs, fruit, juice, coffee, and it's just a great atmosphere. So make sure you check it out if you can. And if we'll also email this out to you later, but I just want to make sure you had that.
And
All right.
did we want to mention December 15th too, Darren?
Yes.
Since we
Okay. I'm
have
sorry.
a
Yes. And
special
then December
holiday?
15th, we'll get that one out for the Southern Marin meeting, Southern Marin buy sell meeting. That was around lunchtime at the Corte Madera Inn. This one's going to be a special one because we're doing it more of a holiday theme, where we'll talk a little bit about stuff going on and whatnot, but we're going to do an ugly sweater meeting. So everyone has to wear their holiday sweater, ugly sweater to get in. We'll let you in if you don't have one, but if you can wear one, that'd be great. And Mr. Shub, we would love it if you could come. I know you're kind of far away, but it'd be great if you could.
Well, remind me, and I might do that because, yeah, the breakfast was great. The one meeting I went to.
Yeah, yeah, it was a great meeting. Um, Bear with me, guys. I'm letting a few more people in. Okay, now let's get started. Eric, tallest man in real estate. Again, Sophia introduced me to Eric a couple months ago and said we should really get this guy on and talk about what he does with AI and how it works for him and how it's changing his market. So this worked out perfectly. We talked about this 3 months ago, maybe. Um, and we said, here's when we're doing our next Realtor Success Series meeting. And it's, happened to be like a couple days before Thanksgiving. And we're thinking, I wonder if this will work, if it's going to be, a good time for everyone. But you know what? We're all home in our pajamas or whatever, and it works out perfectly because we have now 44 people on the call. So anyway, looking forward to this. So Eric, um, before we get started, just tell us a quick background about yourself, where you grew up, how long you've been in the industry, your favorite football team, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm a Bay Area native, so obviously
Okay.
it's the 49ers.
Good game last night.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was an ugly game.
Well, they
Against
won,
Jared Goff in
whatever.
the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my family dates back to 1905 in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, my great grandparents immigrated from Sweden. And then what's so ironic about it, they literally got married. Yeah, Sophia knows that. They got married 1 week before the '06 earthquake. And then they
Wow.
slept in Dolores Park. My great grandfather helped rebuild City Hall. So particularly when you drive by City Hall, when you see the gold up there, him and his team helped do that. And then him and his uncles, or him and my uncles, his cousins and stuff, they ended up building a lot of the homes in the Sunset. And then both my grandparents were born in the Mission. My dad grew up a block off of West Portal, if people know where that is. But then my parents they ended up buying a house out in Concord. And so they still live in the house that I grew up in. So I went to
Wow.
Ignatia Valley right next to De La Salle. I'm sure, Darren, you know where that's at.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so then I lived in North Beach for 12 years, and then I lived in Pac Heights for a year. I currently live in Marin, and it's always been my dream to move to Marin because I love the hiking and everything that's there, the redwood trees and all that. But I've been with Compass now. Well, I started out at Paragon, if people know who that was, and then we got bought by Compass. And I've been with Compass for 8 years. In a couple months, it'll be, well, 9 years as a realtor, should I say. And before that, I was in your world, Darren. I'd helped bring down the whole, economy with our ninja loans
So
back in
you're
the
the
early
guy.
2000s.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So it's funny, as I got older, I always went on to become a realtor. And then one of the things I like about it is just having the freedom to set my schedule.
EXEK.
Beverly.
Beverly, you're on Be Yourself. So yeah, that's my background. I'm at the Beach Street office, if people know where that's at for Compass. I did an AI. What really helped me, I would say, in the last 6 months, my AI journey really started to take off in terms of I wanted to learn more and more about it. I felt like when AI first started, when we had that ChatGPT moment, it was, I kept hearing from my CEO, Robert, kept saying, hey, get on board with this. It's going to be changing the world. But in the very beginning, I thought it was kind of clunky. Other than doing, real estate descriptions of your new listing, I didn't there wasn't a big use for it, but the big game changer for me anyway was about 6 months ago when it started remembering you. And for that, which we'll get into for social media and stuff, it just made all my posts and everything just so much quicker. Because now it already knows the tone that I like, as well as the different hashtags I like to use, and putting my DRE license in there. And it really just changed in terms of how quickly I can do social media and other tasks. And so what I want to get across to everybody here is just AI is coming very quickly. Nobody's prepared for it. And the thing that I'm excited about is it really saves us a lot of time. And what you're going to see in the slide deck here is, the average person when they're using AI is they're usually saving about 30 to 40% in terms of time. And, with that extra time, what do you want to do with it? Either make more money, spend time with your family, go hiking, be outdoors, whatever it is. And so what I want to get across is just hopefully today you'll start thinking of different ways that you can use it. And Darren, where do you want me to take the conversation?
So go ahead and let's just get the slide deck up
Okay.
and just run with it.
Yeah, perfect. So I did a presentation and you'll see this is all, Compass logos and things like that. So I did a presentation, I think it was about the end of July, and it was in Carmel, and it was basically they had about 250, I would say, of the best Compass realtors in NorCal down there. And so my president of NorCal asked if I could go do the presentation. And so what I'm giving you now is basically the same presentation I gave before. And as you'll see, is the biggest thing I want to do is just open your eyes to what's out there. So let me share my screen here. And Darren, feel free to stop me at any point and we can, talk about any particular slide.
Okay.
And can you see it okay?
Yes, we may want to. Can you guys see that okay, Mr. Shub? You good? Okay.
Is that
There we
better?
go. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
So that's the title. Obviously, this is me. And I mentioned that, I've been a Compass Realtor for 8 years now. I'm actually known as hashtag tallest man in real estate. Everyone seems to always wants to know my height. I'm 6'7". Darren, I did hear that there is a Stanford grad that's a realtor down in Palo Alto that's supposed to be taller than me, but I haven't met anyone
Oh, no
in the
kidding.
area that is.
Okay.
In terms of realtor. And so what we'll go over today is the current AI landscape. What I want to get across is automation versus acceleration. And then we'll get into different implementation strategies, whether it's social media action plans, as well as different projects. What I wanted to show here too is so let's look over the current landscape. ChatGPT was launched in 2022. And what was amazing about that is 1 million users in just 5 days downloaded that app. That's never happened. And now we have over 800 million weekly users. So your competition is using it. What I will say though is almost every realtor I talk to feels like they're a little bit behind the curve. And I don't know, I'll tell you right now, you're way ahead of the curve because the average realtor isn't using it at all. I've kind of done an informal poll over the last 3 or 4 months of talking to some of the best realtors and, ask them how they're using it. And they kind of look at me like, not really, other than, like I said, listing descriptions. So that's the fact that you're on this call, you're ahead of the curve. And I think next year is going to be a real game changer in the speed of how quickly everything's coming up. After it was launched 4 months later, ChatGPT 4 came out and it was already 10x smarter. And the stat that blows me away is the one at the bottom, where the OpenAI founder, Sam Altman, says that OpenAI is seeing a 300% compounding growth per year. And when you extrapolate that out, it's going to be 16x more intelligent in 2 years and 64x more in 3 years in terms of its intelligence. And we're already in La La Land where you already have the best, professor or anybody in the field. It's already way smarter than the humans are.
I can't
So
even comprehend that number 64 times.
yeah, I mean, Darren, I've looked at this. Like the human brain really can't think exponential. Like we can think like 2, maybe 3x, but 64x to your point, like I don't
It's
even know
like,
what that means.
yeah.
It's you got something that's what, a 1500 IQ, well, more. I mean, it's already, yeah. So that's why if you want to go on the other way of the doom and gloom and who knows where it's all going. That's where people are kind of coming up with that. It's like, okay, if you have something that's way smarter than us, then what do humans beings do and what do you need us for? But I'm not going to go
Yeah.
down that right now. You can do your own rabbit hole on that stuff. Um, and then this is what I thought was interesting too, is when Grok 4 was released, it is already smarter than every PhD graduate in every discipline. And that's one of the things that I really want to get across to people when you think about AI, is really think of it as your personal assistant. I do get caught up in this as well, as I still think of it sometimes as like a Google, I want information, I use it for, and I just use it as a Google to get me some facts and things, rather than it's actually my personal assistant. And the best thing you can do is, and I still have PhD from Siri, is that I don't do, when I'm texting somebody, I still go in my phone, I still type everything up. And the reason being is Siri just never gets it right. But the voice command with AI is incredible. What I would do is, when you start out with it, just talk into it. Give it your bio. You can tell that I do some ums and ahs in there. Don't worry about it. It'll decipher all of that. And I would give it your bio. I told it, everything I just told you, my family history. We'll get into some social media prompts that I go into as well. But the quicker that it can learn you, the better, as well as the style that you like to speak in. I personally like to speak in the style of The Secret and gratitude. So if you go through my posts on Instagram and stuff, a lot of it is gratitude focused. I like to live in a state of gratitude. But I literally told it like, hey, every post I want, in the form of The Secret and gratitude. Let me go
That's
to the
cool.
second point here. So San Francisco, they started this in January, so it just ended. They did a 6-month pilot program, and with 2,000 employees, 70% of them said that the use
Brian,
of AI saved them 5 hours a
hello,
week.
hello.
And so that gets back to where I was saying of just how much time you can actually save. And then I don't want to bury the lead here because this is really interesting. In Portugal, the world's first AI real estate agent has already made $100 million in sales. So the fact that people are saying, oh, it's not coming for our jobs, I think it will replace some of us. But I think what really is going to happen is the people that embrace AI are just going to accelerate their business even more. Versus the agents that aren't using it, I do think will get left behind, especially how quickly this is coming. But let me give you a little background on what happened in Portugal. Basically, what it was is that it's a company and they have like 5,000 different listings all around Europe. And there's no way that me as a real estate agent can know the details of all those 5,000 different properties. And so what they have in there is kind of like a bot basically. So if I'm in New York and I want to go buy a property in Portugal, I went to that company, put in my information, but now I can literally call it on the phone, have a dialogue and a conversation with it, as well as put in my information, and all that lead information is already put in there. And if I'm speaking 5 or 6 different languages, I can call that person or call that bot, basically the AI agent, whenever I want. I can call it at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can call and speak in Portuguese, or I can call and speak in, English, and it's going to know exactly, how to speak to me. And so that I thought was really amazing that $100 million in sales already came from this AI agent, basically. So more
Crazy.
of that will be coming. Let me go into agent productivity without AI. So we're on the upper left-hand corner. So agents spend over 60% of their time on administrative and marketing tasks. And if you can basically scale that back a little bit, obviously going to save you more time. I thought this was interesting too. It takes you about 5 to 7 hours per listing without automation. And when you think about everything that you do for a listing, I mean, it's at least that, especially when you get into meeting with the person, when you're doing the listing description, the flyers, emails, the social posts, all that takes a bunch of time. One thing I will say about too, when you're doing listing descriptions, get rid of the word nestled. Stop with that. I mentioned this in our meeting, Darren. There's nothing in South of Market in San Francisco at 4th and Folsom Street condo that's nestled, and that's when you know it's AI generated. But one of the things that you can say as a prompt on your description, instead of write me a description of, property at 123 Main Street, what I would say is tell me more of the lifestyle of living at 123 Main Street instead
Oh,
of the actual features. Because what are you selling? You're selling the lifestyle. And I've noticed that on almost all property descriptions, and I've been guilty of this as well. I'll say it's a two bedroom, two bath, house, 1,200 square feet, blah, 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 with an open concept kitchen, whatever it is. All that you can already find in the MLS. Like, give me something that you can't find in the MLS. What's it like to go sit on that balcony? And we all know this, but what's it like to sit on the balcony with the sun setting, grabbing a glass of wine? That's painting a picture of what it's going to look like living in that home. The other thing I want to show here on the very bottom is the follow-up gap. So 80% of agents don't follow up more than twice after the first lead contact. And when the conversion happens is after the fifth time. And that's where which we'll get into here, is when you start building out your action plans and make sure you're doing those follow-ups, then you're going to get a lot more engagement with your clients and hopefully convert them into actual sales. And then some of the ways now I'm on the right-hand side, some of the ways that we can enhance productivity is with ChatGPT, as I mentioned before, it's about 30 to 40% time savings. And that's what the top producers are doing, is they're spending just a lot more time with their clients. And that kind of gets back to what I was saying, Darren, of how I think these top producers are going to grab even more market share. Is a lot of those top producers, they have already got a whole team around them, and that keeps them in that relationship mode with their clients, going to coffees, grabbing a drink, talking to them on the phone, whatever it may be. And AI can help automate a lot of that stuff on the back end. I ended up actually, gosh, this was maybe I think it was about 6 or 7 months ago. I ended up firing my virtual assistant because I'm like, if you're not even really using I want to find the virtual assistant that is. And the one I've got now is so much better with that. And I've already seen my engagement and stuff, especially my social media, go up. Any questions on this part so far, Darren?
I'm seeing if there's and guys, if you have any questions, raise your hand or just speak up. This is totally informal, so just speak
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I don't want to just rattle off for 30 minutes. So if you have, feel free to stop me anytime. I can get back into flow.
Okay, yeah,
I
go
already
ahead.
did that. So let's go into how we can use it for social media. And what I love about this is, you know, when you first start out with social media, like I said, the first thing I would do is talk to it, give it your bio. One of the things that I told it is every time I do any kind of post, I have to have hashtag tallest man in the real estate in every post. If it's San Francisco related, but it's not real estate related, my other hashtag is hashtag SF digital mayor. And then anything that's real estate related, I obviously need my DRE number. And so that was one of the first things I told it. And I will say in the beginning, you got to keep reminding. I mean, I just did a post yesterday and I was talking, well, it actually kind of went viral on my Instagram. I was talking about homelessness.
Oh,
But I did mention Compass and some things in the actual post. And so I said, you know what? I do know my DRE license in there. It's kind of talking a little bit about real estate. So I had to remind the chat or ChatGPT 3 or ChatGPT, should I say, to put that in there. Um, and then I also, one of the things I said too is I always say, I want it to be, like I mentioned before, in the form of the secret. So that's gratitude. But with this short here that I did, and some of it's Compass related, it's talking about three-phase marketing, and and then also one of the things I told her is I really need a good hook on anything that I do in terms of particularly around YouTube. And what I mean by a hook is like, here's the top 5 coffee shops that you need to know about in San Francisco. So my hook is usually you need to know about, and that gets people to click on. But what I really like too is as I started working with it, I started telling it, what I want to post for LinkedIn is very different than what I may want to do for TikTok or do for Facebook or Threads or Instagram or X. Particularly around X, that it has to be under 256 characters. So once you start to talk to it and get it refined to how you want it to work, now I can do social media posts. I mean, it's literally probably about a third of the time of what it was taking just 6 months ago, which I absolutely love, particularly around YouTube videos of getting the different tags right. God, that would take me forever putting in, best realtor, San Francisco realtor, Eric Janson, tallest man in real estate, all those tags and things. Now it just gives me an easy copy and paste. It takes me literally 2 seconds to copy and paste that in. Any questions on social media so far? And I've got some more examples I'll bring up. So here's a kind of what I was talking about in terms of social media and gratitude. So I ended up asking it, I said, hey, I want to start a 30-day social media campaign about the best things to do in San Francisco. Provide me a hook in the description with the proper hashtags and keywords for SEO. And then I mentioned where it'll be posted. And this is where I told it, I want the tone should be of gratitude in the style of the book, The Secret. What I loved about that is it basically gave me 30 posts that I can do that I can literally just copy and paste. The first one, well, here, we'll go into how it starts. So this is what it came up with about the 30 days of San Francisco magic. And what I love about it is you look down at the bottom, it's got all my hashtags in there. And at the very end, it says SF Digital Mayor. It says hashtag tallest man in real estate. I don't need my DRE license, obviously, because it has nothing to do with real estate. And so I can literally just copy and paste this and then schedule it out on my Instagram. What I've noticed is when I'm posting, usually about 7 a.m. is when I'm going to get the most traffic, or like 6:30 a.m. People are waking up. And what do? You doom scroll on your phone. Or I think another good time is kind of like 4 to 5 p.m. But you can also, I mean, you can throw it into ChatGPT and see what it says. So the great thing that I love about this is I can literally have these posts showing up once a day and going off at 6:30 a.m. if I want. And the next one was no. So and then after I started that up, it said, should we do your first post?" And I said, "Great, let's do it." So what it did is it talked about the Lion Street steps here in San Francisco and having a cup of coffee and looking over the bay and how beautiful the bay is. Is basically the general theme of it. And then it said, "Would you like to schedule it out?" I said, "Great." So I copy and pasted it, scheduled it. And then what I can do is go to Google, get a stock photo of the Lion Street steps if I don't have one, which I don't think I do with the Lion Street steps, but I've got all kinds of other photos. And then I can just basically plug that in and get that going. To do this whole campaign would probably only take me a few hours, and I can get the whole 30 days out. And at least that way I'm posting, every day on there. Any questions about social media so far?
Eric, do you do a lot of this yourself, or is this your virtual assistant like scheduling and doing all this?
Yeah, I mean, Darren, I'll say this. I personally have a love-hate relationship with social media. And the reason why I say that is social media can be a time suck. And that's one thing that I love about AI is it's saving me time. So social media, I do have, and you'll kind of notice if you go to my account, you'll notice in the last 3 or 4 weeks, the tone of it started to change. So I do have somebody, my virtual assistant, that is doing that. And then what I like to do is putting my own stuff in there of me just talking about whatever it is I want to talk about. Social media, if you can do it yourself, I think it's always better if you can do it. And one of the things that I set up in ChatGPT is when you're looking in ChatGPT on the left-hand side, there's projects. And so one of the projects I put in there, I just put social media. And then I said, hey, I'm going to put, everything I want to do social media into this project. And that way I don't have to keep scrolling down or start a new chat in terms of ChatGPT every time I want to post something. So that really helps as well. But yeah, social media, I mean, I to answer your question, it's about half. So half
Okay.
of it I do, half of it goes out to a VA. I
So
will
there's
say,
a question brought up. Sorry,
uh,
Eric. There was a question brought up. How do you deal with copyrights in photos you didn't take yourself or buy license to?
if it's on Google, those are usually stock photos. So I'm not worried about copyright infringement.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a great question. And I will say one time I did get caught with this. Luckily, nothing happened. But this guy did these amazing pictures of like drone. I think it was drone shots, but it's like the fog with the Golden Gate Bridge or something. And I just screenshot it, reposted it, and then somebody else tagged that person that actually took the original photo. I was like, hey, isn't this yours? Luckily nothing happened with it, but yeah, I thought, I probably should have referenced the guy to give him credit for it because obviously I'm not doing drone footage, but But yeah, that's a great question. I believe, and you may want to check this or put it into ChatGPT. I think anything on Google stock photos, you're not going to be worried about copyright infringement.
And do you post all this? I know you like Instagram, obviously, and TikTok, I assume. Um,
Yeah.
but do you do LinkedIn, Facebook, all that?
Yeah, I do. What are the six I do? I do my Google My Business profile is probably one of the best ones you can do. That and Instagram, I think, are the two. After that is YouTube. And then after that, I don't like TikTok that much, just things I've heard about with China and all that stuff, but yet I do post on there, but I just post and literally get out of it. So if anyone messages me on TikTok and stuff, I don't really ever watch or read it, but I do know that the people under 35 years old are on it. So I do that. And then I am on X. One of the things I did tell it on LinkedIn too is a lot of times you'll hear, make this in a professional tone. Personally, I think ChatGPT sucks when it says professional tone. It's not the way that I would talk. But you'll notice my LinkedIn posts wouldn't have as many emojis as they would on like a Instagram post, if that makes sense.
Another question, real quick: Chat GPT versus Google Gemini.
Yeah, so personally for me, I've kind of spent almost all my time in ChatGPT. I know I've talked to other realtors that use all the different ones. So I think for you, what I would do is just kind of stick to one and really get to know that. But there's all this hubbub about Gemini 3 that just came out, and I know what I've heard is there's a lot of ways that you can manipulate images. That would be really great. And so I think with the new Gemini, which I'm kind of excited about, is I think I can basically put in some photos of me and then do videos and not have to record it myself, which we talked a little bit about the meeting last time, Darren, was about Hey Gen, which I'll bring up towards the end of this.
Okay.
But I think that's very interesting. So it's something I do want to look into. Grok, I heard that Grok's probably the smartest, but I've heard that also Grok is more for like people that are doing like science research and those types of things versus I think ChatGPT is kind of more general. And then the other thing for me personally is Compass is coming out with their Compass AI, and that's built on ChatGPT. So I'd rather just kind of get to know that more
Oh,
rather than
interesting.
trying to
Okay.
go between. But there's also Perplexity. I've heard a lot of people use as well. So I haven't really, to answer your question, I haven't really gone through a lot of those. Everything that I'm speaking about today will be on ChatGPT.
Hey, so real quick, so Andrew put out something, Nano Banana. Is that right? Nano Banana for
Yeah,
images is amazing.
yeah,
For the
I
record.
was trying to think of the name. That's exactly it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I implore. And the other great thing about the time right now, this is a great time to audit everything. So, audit the way, your action plans, audit your emails, whatever you can automate in the next few months while it's a little bit slower, great time to do all that. I mean, you could literally, get your whole social media campaign, at least once a week of however you want that to look. And at least you'd be posting once or twice a week. In December, I mean, when we're not as busy, go to a coffee shop and hammer that out. It's a good time to do it. So let me go into the next slide here. I want to get into different action plans. This helped me a lot. So I created a 21-day follow-up plan for new buyers that I met at an open house. And I had a action plan set up, but what I loved about it is I put it into ChatGPT and it gave me so many new things to add to it, as well as some things to take away. And all I was doing was literally talking to it. And so, I hit the record button, started talking to it. And I told it the whole goal of what I wanted it to do was to basically get a new buyer onto that initial Zoom call. And so, one of the game changers that I started doing this last spring and got some great buyers out of it. And I think you never know exactly what it was. But once I picked them up at an open house and the open house ends at 4 o'clock, I'll stand outside in front, take my phone and say, "Hey, Jim, great meeting you at 123 Main Street. When I get home, I'll send you that follow-up email. We'll set up that Zoom call for the buyer Zoom call." And then I send it to them. And I love doing that because at least that way they got a video of me. Hopefully there's two or three other realtors they met that day that are doing their job and got their information. but I don't think a lot of them are sending that actual video. And then that way later on, a few days go by and are like, oh God, I met all these different realtors. Who was Eric and who's Joe? I don't remember. At least they got the video of me and remembering my face and name. And then what I do is I go home and then I send them an email and it's got my buyer's book. There's also there's Compass newsletters that they do once a month that have amazing graphics and everything. So I'll send that to them, a link to that. And then what else I send them? The third thing is there's a heat map that Compass has. So you can literally look like, outer sunset 2-bedroom houses and at least get what the average prices are for those. And so I send that all to them. And then I always give them like a time or whatever of when we want to set up that call. And then what the 21-day follow-up plan is, okay, if they don't respond to that email, the next day I send them a text and I already have the text, pre-set up that I just copy and paste. Then I wait 2 days. If nothing else happens, then there's an email that I send them. I wait 2 more days. If nothing else happens, so there's a whole plan that's set up there. And if they don't get back to me after 21 days and I do that plan and I follow up to it, they're not ready or they're definitely working with somebody else. And you're going to know after 21 days what that looks like. So I love that I was able to set up that whole campaign. And that took me, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes of working with ChatGPT to get that set up. And then this I liked as well is I set up an action plan for follow-up with past clients. And I was talking about different touch points. You have your birthday, you have your home anniversary. Maybe you want to send them a market update, whatever it might be. Spring cleanings mentioned in there, different articles, Christmas gifts, that whole thing. And what I loved about it is then after I put that in there, here's the whole action plan that it gave me that I can set up for past clients. And so it mentions, different calls and texts I can do. February is a birthday message, spring cleaning email. August, obviously, home anniversary message if their anniversary was in August. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed too was I said, okay, well, what if I have a client that's more of an analyst type? Analysts love data, very different than me, who's more the social type. I care more about the neighborhood and the coffee shops than I do about the appreciation of the home. And so what I said is, I said, okay, well, what if my client's a big fan of Robert Refkin, who's my CEO, and he's always on CNBC? And this is what it kicked out. It said they're obviously tuned into national real estate trends. They appreciate high-level strategic thinking. They respect credible voices backed by data, and they likely value your expertise as a local version of what Refkin offers nationally. And what I've noticed, when I'm talking to analysts, I just want to feed them data, data, data. That's the most of the thing that they care about. And with analysts, you cannot push them. For my personality type, you can push me a little bit. Like, hey, you might be missing out if you don't get in now, that kind of stuff. With analysts, just send them data, data, data. Don't push them. Eventually, once they have all the data and they come up to, and they get comfortable enough, that's when they'll end up buying. And so you can see this action plan that they did here was completely different. It's all very data focused. And my CEO actually has talked about sending, God, don't quote me on this, but I feel like one time he said he sent out like 5,000 or 6,000 handwritten cards in a year, which I don't know how you do that as a CEO, but I love down at the December one, it talked about a handwritten card because handwritten cards go a long way, especially in today's day and age.
So
and then,
Eric, just to clarify,
go ahead.
so after every one of your closings, you'll go in, you say, okay, create a calendar for this customer for the year.
Yeah.
And then it does this, January do this, February, whatever. And then can you get that to automatically upload into your calendar, or do you have to kind of
I'm sure you could, and all you have to do is ask ChatGPT how to do it. I'm pretty sure, especially with Gemini, I'm pretty sure you can link it to your Gmail. For me with the Compass CRM is it's really easy to do because we already have action plans set up. And then the way that looks like for me is when I log into the Compass CRM, there's all these different sections I can go to, and one of them are like tasks to basically do today, and I can check them all off. So for me, it would show up as a task to go and send these. And then some of these things I can automatically do, like especially emails. I can basically set those up whenever I want to send them. And actually, I mean, that I know you can do as well, is you can schedule out emails in your Gmail account and just say, okay, whatever emails I'm going to send out here, go ahead and do. But yeah, I'm sure you could probably set up through your calendar. Wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, Andrew threw out some info like auto calendar integration as well. Plays nice with the CRM. So it sounds like there's ways to make that happen.
Yeah. And
It's
again,
great.
is anytime you have some questions, what I would do is just hit the record button on ChatGPT. I mean, you can even say like, hey, I was just on a webinar. We're talking about doing an action plan for follow-ups with past clients. I want to do, every month I want to send out something to a past client. How do I set up that action plan so that it reminds me? And and then as I'm talking, you can hear my ums and ahs and the way that I'm changing the way I'm thinking. It'll pick up your everything you want to say. So don't worry about getting like the right script down when you prompt. Just start talking into it.
Cool.
So let's go to yeah, so the last kind of where I want to end on this is where we're going in terms of future trends. So AI agents, I think, are going to be really big in 2026. And basically what an AI agent can do, and it's going to take over all businesses, is now I can have somebody that can literally go out into the field and work as me. And what I've heard, and I haven't quite played around with it. I don't know if it's quite the technology is there yet, but it will be, and I'm guessing probably in the next few months is I can basically load in all my contacts and then the AI agent will go ahead and already start doing kind of what we're talking about, Darren, start doing an action plan for those contacts. And so they can send them emails, they can send them texts. I do know that there's ways too that they can actually call and then sound like you on your behalf. And again, I'm not saying go ahead and do that because there's copyright, to me that seems like there would be a lot of, laws about possibly not doing that. But yeah, that's where it's all going. And just kind of on the personal side of it is I got married 2 years ago, basically. And I think about like how much time it took us to organize this whole wedding. And with an AI agent, we could basically do is say, okay, we want to get married on September 30th. We need a band, we need caterers, we need the flower people, we need alcohol, we need a venue, everything that you need in terms of a wedding. And the AI agent can basically, assuming that, the websites and their calendars are all correct, they can go ahead and start getting those appointments set up for you. And all that research that we had to do is taken out of it with an AI agent actually working for us. Something I did too on ChatGPT fairly recently, this maybe a few weeks ago, is we're thinking about possibly maybe moving, out of the country for a few years. And my God, within like 20 minutes, it was telling me, and I said, okay, I want to be, somewhere in Central America or South America. I want it to be within 8 hours of SFO. I don't want it to be too humid. I want good schools because my, daughter will probably be in preschool or in kindergarten. And it gave me like 3 or 4 cities to go check out, as well as the different schools and the different districts to go live in that are great for expats. And this whole thing, I was just amazed at how much data. I'm like, great. Now all I have to do is just go check out those cities and see if they work for me.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
yeah, it's pretty amazing how fast it works.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I want to talk about is the HeyGen and avatars. Um, HeyGen is and I'm just starting to play around with it. What I love about HeyGen is now I can make videos, and it's just a picture of me, but basically, I think you just upload 4 or 5 pictures, and it'll start doing videos, and you can't really tell the difference. So now I just have to basically take ChatGPT, load in a script, put it as my avatar, boom, I got a video like that. And I don't have to record it, doing the editing, anything, and then I can just upload it into the different platforms. Um,
Hey, Eric,
yeah.
I just found over the weekend Descript.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Oh, so I would love to see because I know we talked about the HeyGen at the meeting, but Descript was so cool about it because I was playing around with the avatar and I sent it to my family some things that I mean they were like, oh my gosh, Sophia, don't ever use this. This is just hilarious, but definitely does not look like you. But Descript is you just essentially talk into it and it's so like you can edit it with just taking out words, but it's actually you speaking. So anyone that has fear of doing video, it's amazing. So I would love to see what you think about this Descript versus
Yeah.
HeyGen. And they also have avatars and they can create it. But let's do a comparison of those two.
You know, what'd be fun, Sophia, during December is what if we got like we all met somewhere, like 5 or 6 people are interested in this, and I could dive into like HeyGen, have somebody else dive into Descript and do some kind of
Yes,
community type thing about it. Like I would love doing that.
I would love that.
I mean, honestly, my as much presentations I've done on things, I'm very basic on basically using ChatGPT, and there's so much out there. I mean, you can really go down a rabbit hole if you want to. But that's one thing I love about doing these is, every time you and I talk, I always get new ideas. I think you do the same. So I love
Yeah.
this aspect of it.
Yeah, because I was totally all in on HeyGen, and it's a great system. But now I'm just trying out this Descript, and it's just because of who like because you are so good on video naturally, um, and I feel like then you can anyway. It's let's get together and talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to talk about that. Maybe we could do some videos as well about what we like about Marin.
Love that.
Get some lifestyle ones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what I wanted to cover. If anyone has any questions, or Darren, if you do, or wherever you want to take it.
So there's a few, let's see here.
Oh, wait,
Um,
wait, wait, wait. Okay, this one
yeah,
I do want to go over real quick because Darren,
okay.
we talked about this before. On Zoom right now, there's an AI companion button. Oh my God, game changer. So what I loved about the AI companion button, and it should, if you go down to Zoom, it should be just to the right. You should see it somewhere. If you click enable that, what it'll automatically do is record all of your Zoom calls, and then it sends you
Here,
this
we're gonna
great
change some stuff
summary
here.
of the complete call. And what I loved about that is anytime I do a buyer's call over Zoom, it gives me this summary about what we talked about, what are the next steps. Then I take that summary, plug that into ChatGPT and say, hey, create a follow-up email for my clients. And it'll tell me, okay, here's the 5 or 6 things that are the next steps I'm going to do. Here's what we spoke about. Here's what I'm going to follow up. And then here's my lender that you need to talk to. Oh my, the email looks amazing. It's all, indented with bullet points and the whole thing. That would, I mean, for me personally, just to create that email would take at least 30 minutes because I'm not tech savvy. But yeah, they just kicked it out really, really quickly.
So a couple things here, just a couple comments. So Craig Stewart, we are invested in Panama City, Panama, if Eric is looking into that. So there you
Craig,
go.
that Panama City was one of the cities.
Um,
But what I thought of was like, I'm afraid it's gonna be too humid. So yeah, maybe we can talk about it offline. But yeah, Panama City came up.
it feels like newer and better apps are coming out every week. Hard to keep up.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but it's just one of those things. Just breathe. I mean,
yeah.
it all comes together.
And
But
that,
I
A
that's
little
do
one
bit
thing I
of
want to
something
get.
is better than a whole lot of nothing. So just
Yeah.
something
And
in.
Darren, that's what I want to get across too is as I said in the beginning, I would say 99% of realtors are barely using it. Like they're just using it for listing descriptions. So the fact that you're even on the call and starting to, maybe think of other ways that you can use it, you're already getting ahead of the game. But I do think in 2026, there's going to be so much buzz about everything AI, especially in the Bay Area, that more and more realtors are going to start using it. And I'm starting to get a lot more calls from colleagues and saying, hey, can we do webinars such as this for other offices? So the word is getting out there, and the quicker that we can get ahead of it, the better. However, it's AI. I mean, we saw how quickly it's going. You're
Yeah.
never going to get on top of it.
And
but
whatever
I
we
do
do
think
out there,
oh,
whatever you guys decide to do, Eric, Sophia, all of us, Shub said to make sure to count him in. So we will, Mr. Shub.
hey,
Um,
Darren and Eric,
yes.
I just wanted to make a comment about what goes into ChatGPT. And I love, Eric, what you said about putting as much information in there as possible. We worked we're starting to do some meta ads, and we worked with a branding expert, and she gave us like a branding context sheet that we filled out, took maybe about half an hour, 45 minutes, but it has absolutely everything of who you are. And if you can't answer a question, don't answer it. But it's like your qualifications, your background, kind of what you talked about, Eric, like who you are, your tone, pain points that you see your clients have. And I'm happy to share that branding contact sheet because what we did is we just uploaded that into ChatGPT, and now Chat really knows our business. So now what I can do is I can have a conversation with Chat for 5 minutes on, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then it comes back to me, well, have you thought about this? Well, have you thought about that? And then I'm like, oh, no, I didn't. But, you can have a really, really smart strategy conversation about it. I'm sure you can do that with, a listing you have coming up, like, hey, there's a lot of traffic. How should I best market it? Whatever it is. But I'm happy to share that branding contact sheet because that was a game changer for us.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Then, another thing I heard about on a podcast too is, if you're going into a listing presentation for 123 Main Street, put that into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm doing a listing presentation on this house. Give me everything that I need to know about this house. And it'll come up with some really great stats that your seller doesn't even know about, previous owners and who they might be and all this other stuff. I thought that was really interesting. It's funny as you're talking, I just remember that I heard in a podcast. And then
Can I
you can
tell
also
also
about
use it
people.
too is real quick. Another thing to do is ask it like, how do I pop up in ChatGPT? How do I become searchable? Because everybody younger, they're not using Google anymore to look you up. They're going to ChatGPT you. And I brought this up in our meeting. If you, I mean, I haven't done it in the last few months, but I did it maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I put in, best San Francisco realtor. And when you do it in Google, there are like 3 or 4 realtors that I never heard of that are down in San Jose. But when you did ChatGPT, who are the best San Francisco realtors, the top 10, I'd all heard of them. And I would say, yeah, based on that, those are the top realtors that I've heard. So, um, and that's also why I think that people that are on, the New York Times and are on or SF Gate or getting quoted more in newsletters or in news articles are going to show up more in ChatGPT, which is why, again, I think the top of the top is going to get even more of the pie because they're already being quoted. They're already kind of ahead of the game on that. However, as I say that though, you can leapfrog a lot of those middle agents, I think, because they're not using AI. And if you start using it, you can start getting up higher and ranking higher too.
Can I give you something
Yeah,
else?
go ahead, Shub. I was just
Do I
going to
have
call on
time?
you. Go ahead.
I'm using it to create statistical reports that I want instead of the default reports that I get from multiple listing service. I just take data from MLS, all of the data from MLS from whatever area that I want. Maybe it's just a neighborhood, maybe it's a condo project. I dump it into MLS and I dump it into ChatGPT. And I've asked ChatGPT a whole bunch of questions to create some projects, and it remembers my project. So I can do it whatever I want. But what I do on Monday morning is I download all the data and I just ask it to update the report, and I get some pretty cool looking graphs and charts and tables. So when I'm meeting with a buyer or a seller, we're in a changing market, right? It's not just me giving them what I think, it's me giving them data, facts. It's kind of like what Eric was talking about with that type of client. But I think most people, if they're getting ready to spend a lot of money to buy something, or if they're getting ready to sell something potentially at a loss, well, I want more money than that for it. You need to be able to demonstrate to them why. How do you download it from MLS? I'm in Contra Costa. I'm with Compass in Walnut Creek, Eric. We
Okay.
need to talk. I need to learn more from you.
Tim Allen comes to all my my AI meetings, by the way. We do it every Tuesday. It's always the second Tuesday of the month. But anyway,
send me a link, please.
I will.
So Anna wants to know how you download it from MLS. You guys are using Berries, I guess, or SFAR. I'm in Contra Costa, but I think they all allow you to download, to export data into a spreadsheet into a Excel spreadsheet or whatever you're using. And I just dump all of that data. It's tons of data I don't even want. If you want to, if I can share my screen, I can show you a report if you have time.
Yeah, let's go real quick. We can let's see here. Let me
Dave, you may have to hit share screen and then it says request. And then I think Darren accepts the request.
All right. So I've got here it is here. Did that show up?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I see
there
it.
you go.
Okay, so I'm working in Rossmore. There's about 6,500 homes here, and there's about, well, I can show you. There's about 469 sales in the last year. So what I've done is I want to be able to show on the fly supply and demand. So I've asked it to give me a chart, active, pending, sold. I'm also trying to convince, the chair of our MLS here, and I'm trying to get them to understand that days on market is sort of meaningless with all the churning that's going on. Don't get me started. But you can see the difference between cumulative days on market, and you can see the properties that are actually selling are priced right. Here's the number of sales per month. I've asked it to give me the bar chart, the line chart, the table. I've asked for these data points in the table. So you can see actually the difference between original list price, average list price, and the sales price. You can see price reductions. You can see that the properties that have actually closed escrow are selling very close to the original price because it's important to price. Here in Rossmore, this is kind of hard to read, so I put it into a table, but you can see what price points are selling and which price points are not selling, which has been helpful. So, I mean, that's just kind of the way it works. How do I unshare?
And Dave, what I love they have there too is if you scroll back up, I think it said that keep going. Wait, down a little bit. Uh down one more. This is kind of interesting because it talks about sales price, original price. And we all well, it's interesting about January, but yeah, I mean, I always tell people, obviously, springtime's the best time to sell, like March, April, May. And so the data right there concludes that. And then summer's not as good and December is usually not as good. So that's interesting. Right. I always tell my sellers it's always like spring and fall, and the data right there supports it. And Rossmore's I mean, the Rossmore, for those that don't know, is a very unique community. I mean, it's a retirement type community. You'd obviously know more about it than me. I grew up not too far from there, but to get data just on Rossmore, you can't pull data from like Walnut Creek or Lafayette. It's its own thing.
Right. So you can do the same thing with, as I said, any neighborhood. This is created not by an MLS defined area. This is created by a map search defined area. So I
Oh,
just
wow.
created the map and saved it. But you could do that for any particular neighborhood that you wanted, or a condominium project, or whatever. You can decide what data you want to analyze, and you can ask it. And as I go along every week, I see something else that I want to change or improve, and I can say, oh, change the title on this report to whatever, or add a footer, and it remembers it. So when I first did it, I spent hours creating it, but now it takes me, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to create all of those reports. So I'm finding it very helpful. If I'm working with a buyer that's getting ready to make an offer, I can show them exactly what's going on. If I'm working with a seller that needs a price reduction, it's not me telling them, hey, you're overpriced. It's the data showing them, what they need to know to make the right decision.
That's really cool.
And
You
I'm
guys,
happy to share that anytime.
yeah,
Dave,
let's
well, I'll be doing my Compass AI meeting on December 10th on Wednesday from well, we always do basically 11:30 to 12:30. So I'd love if you could come to the Compass office and then we can run through that and we'll put it up on the screen and actually show people how to do it.
Send me the info.
Yep.
You're in San Francisco. I'm not sure I can get to San Francisco on that day, but if I can, I
Okay.
will.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I haven't been to that office yet. I've been with Compass now for, I think, 6 years, and I have not gone into the city.
Okay. We got to wrap it up, guys. It's a little bit after 10. But so, first of all, Eric, that was awesome. I mean, a lot of comments here. You need to take this on the road, show people this, what it's all about. We definitely need to figure something out because this is some great information and there's only going to be more out there.
And I
So
would, yeah, Darren, I would love to set up some kind of, mastermind. Like I said, we can go grab a drink or a coffee shop and like if we could break out into teams and have like two people look at this and two people look at that and then all come together. I think that'd be really cool.
it'd be awesome. So let's definitely figure that out between us and definitely Sophia, let's make that happen.
Yeah, let's do
And
it.
just some great stuff. I mean, I took so many notes. And so again, this stuff, this will be recorded, or this was recorded. My uh, assistant's gonna chop all this up and make some little edits so it's out there, but it'll be on YouTube and stuff. So we'll make sure we get this recording out to everyone that was on this call. Um, but a great call. That was awesome, Eric. So thank you so much.
Very welcome.
If I didn't get to your questions or something, I apologize, but we got to wrap this up. But I'm sure Eric, if you have questions for Eric, just
I'm
what's the
easy to
best way to get in
find.
touch with you?
Just like a hashtag tall man in real estate.
Okay, yeah, just
Google
message
it
me
or ChatGPT it. But
on Instagram.
no, my email is eric at ericjansonrealtor.com. And my last name is Janson. And if anybody wants me to like, do something like this for their offices or something, let me know because I've already got the deck built and I've talked about it a lot, so it's pretty easy to do.
Great stuff. Awesome. All right, guys. That's it for this month. Wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe. Enjoy. Enjoy football and the food and friends and family and all that. And if you need us for anything, you know how to get in touch with us. Just reach out. And then we'll see most of you hopefully on December 2nd
Yep.
for our next North Bay buy sell. And then on the 17th for our ugly sweater meeting.
15th,
Dave, again, if you can make it out, we would love it.
December 15th.
15th. Thank you.
Yes.
So that's it, guys. Thank you so much.